Ashe, and welcome to another special episode of our Mandatory Mental Liberation Message series, written and produced by our esteemed elder Baba Jelani Bomani Dembe, the brilliant founder of Majestic Mind Matters University. I'm your royal narrator, Queen Magical Melanin, for this new episode. The necessity of the Mandatory Mental Liberation series at Majestic Mind Matters University lies in our focus on serving our melanin-rich culture nation. By addressing the importance of knowledge of self to produce greater self-awareness and advocating for our mental liberation, especially for our precious melanin-rich culture children, our messages aim to combat the enduring effects of generational mental enslavement stemming from the historical trauma of the chattel enslavement of the ancestors. Our initiative seeks to empower us to break free from these harmful and unfavorable legacies and cultivate a deep-rooted sense of self-identity and unwavering resilience. Each moment you spend with us is a gift, a chance to grow, to learn, to be inspired. So stay with us till the end, where the real magic happens. Now, let's get started with this very special melanin-rich culture message titled, The Detriments of the Welfare System for Our Melanin-Rich Culture People. Stay woke. In our continuous journey towards understanding the impact of systemic oppression and social injustice on our melanin-rich communities, we collectively recognize the weight of history on our shoulders. As we delve into the detriments of the welfare system, we must acknowledge how this system has often entangled our people in cycles of dependency and disempowerment. The welfare system, while initially designed to provide support, has frequently failed to uplift us and instead perpetuated a narrative of helplessness, stripping away our autonomy and cultural identity. To reclaim our melanin-rich cultural heritage, it is vital that we link our past struggles with the present realities we face today. This reclamation is not merely an act of nostalgia, it is essential for the mental liberation of our precious children. Our children must be taught not only who they are, but also their rightful place in the tapestry of civilization. We must inspire them to embrace the greatness of being descendants of people from Alkebulan, the original cradle of humanity, where civilization first flourished. We look to contemporary cultural productions, such as the films of Jordan Peele and Little Marvin, which poignantly reflect the psychological effects of social injustice, racism, and oppression. Peele's narratives often highlight the insidious nature of racism, showcasing how it manifests in both overt hostilities and covert, subtle means that permeate our daily existence. Similarly, works from Little Marvin present the struggles of navigating a world that has consistently devalued our lives and histories. These cinematic reflections serve as both a mirror and a rallying cry for our communities to stay woke, to remain conscious of the intricacies of our oppression, and to challenge the status quo. We must address the pivotal role of love and unity within our communities, advocating for the importance of marrying within our own race. As melanin-rich culture women, we hold in high esteem the mothers who bore us, acknowledging their struggles often fought in solitude against systemic oppression. Likewise, we honor the men who have protected and supported us, standing firmly in alliance against threats to our collective dignity. Together, we must nurture a culture of appreciation for each other as a primary means of fostering resilience and strength. Moreover, we must reclaim the knowledge of ourselves and our origins. The continued use of terms like Black people, people of color, and African are remnants of a colonial narrative designed to obfuscate our identities and fracture our unity. This language serves intentionally to divide us and perpetuate social discrimination. The covert racism of our current era is insidious, operating beneath the surface of society while continuing to affect our self-perception and communal cohesion. In acknowledging and memorializing our ancestors, those lost to chattel slavery as well as those who died fighting against the secretive forces of oppression, we pay tribute to their sacrifices. We realize that mass incarceration has effectively replaced chattel enslavement as a means of controlling and subjugating our people, with current laws disproportionately targeting marginalized communities. We recognize the impact of Stockholm Syndrome, where some of us have been conditioned to align ourselves with those who oppress us, further complicating our liberation efforts. Terms like drapetomania, a fabricated condition describing the supposed insanity of enslaved Africans who sought freedom, exemplify the lengths to which the oppressor will go to justify our subjugation. The mental transformation from being free agents of our identities to being stripped of our humanity and forced into submission is a trauma that continues to reverberate through our generations. Today, we reject the empty symbolisms that accompany our votes. We demand tangible results. This is a critical juncture where we choose not to trust the illusion of inclusion offered by a system that we do not govern. We must grasp that the principles outlined in the Kerner Commission must be revived in our conversations about social justice. Holistic healthcare is essential for our communities, recognizing that our well-being is tied intricately to our cultural identity and spiritual health. The devastation of being stolen from our lands and forced to relinquish our identity cannot be understated. As we stay woke, we are charged with the responsibility to confront and dismantle these oppressive systems. We are committed to reestablishing our cultural heritage and fostering a future where our melanin-rich civilization flourishes, grounded in the rich legacy of our ancestors. This reclamation is mandatory, for the mental liberation of our children depends on it. Our next topic in this special Majestic Mind Matters University Mandatory Mental Liberation Message series is titled, How Historical Context of Oppression and Systemic Racism Shapes Current Societal Structures. The legacy of oppression and systemic racism has left indelible marks on our current societal structures, influencing not only the socioeconomic fabric of our communities, but also shaping our identities and impacting the mental well-being of our children. As we reflect on our shared experiences, it becomes clear that understanding this historical context is vital for dismantling the existing power structures and promoting mental liberation within our melanin-rich culture. The welfare system, initially designed to provide assistance, has often functioned as a mechanism of control rather than empowerment for our people. Throughout history, the policies associated with this system have disproportionately affected our communities, creating a cycle of dependency that undermines our cultural integrity and autonomy. The stigmatization of welfare recipients exacerbates the psychological impact, as it roots our value in perceptions perpetuated by a society that has long exploited our labor and devalued our worth. Consequently, we find ourselves facing an uphill battle, not just against economic deprivation, but against an ingrained societal belief that deems our melanin-rich culture inferior. To promote the mental liberation of our children and community, we must reclaim our rich cultural heritage. Our history is filled with heroes who have demonstrated resilience, wisdom, and strength against overwhelming odds. Recognizing our legacy is essential, as it provides a source of pride and identity that empowers us to stand firmly against oppression. It is imperative for us, as members of a melanin-rich culture, to honor and venerate the struggles borne by our women who have faced systemic challenges largely alone. By embracing this solidarity, we ensure that future generations inherit not just stories of struggle, but narratives of triumph. Furthermore, we must appreciate our melanin-rich culture men who stand as stalwarts in the face of adversity, safeguarding our families and communities. Their unwavering commitment to our collective well-being embodies the spirit of unity, which is crucial as we seek to dismantle oppressive systems. This unity begins with recognizing that our strength lies in collaboration, not only within our communities, but in solidarity with melanated people worldwide. We must be conscious of how interconnected we are, sharing a common history that binds us together in our quest for dignity and justice. The contemporary psychological effects of social injustice and oppression can be vividly illustrated by the works of filmmakers like Jordan Peele and Little Marvin. Their narratives reflect the realities of our existence, capturing the societal trauma that emerges from systemic racism. Peele's films, for example, delve into the horrors of identity theft and the exploitation of Black bodies, weaving together history and horror in a manner that resonates with our lived experiences. Little Marvin's Them takes a similar approach, portraying the psychological scars left by migration and displacement that resonate deeply within our historical consciousness. These visual narratives serve not only as entertainment, but as a medium for critical reflection on the mental health crisis within our communities, reminding us that the legacy of oppression continues to affect us in profound ways. To dismantle these oppressive structures, we must advocate for policies that prioritize our needs as a melanin-rich culture while rejecting systems that perpetuate our marginalization. This includes fighting against the stigmatization of welfare and advocating for changes that empower rather than control. We can raise awareness about our cultural heritage through education, not just in terms of historical facts, but also through celebrating our art, music, and spiritual practices. By fostering environments that reflect our values and histories, we cultivate a sense of belonging and pride that is essential for the mental liberation of our children. As we move forward, we must also recognize the importance of spirituality in reclaiming our identities. Embracing our original spiritual practices strengthens our connection to our ancestors, reminding us of their sacrifices and resilience in the face of colonial and systemic oppression. It is through this recognition that we can forge a path toward healing and empowerment, ensuring that the horrors of chattel enslavement are neither forgotten nor repeated. We must shun the oppressive ideologies and religions imposed upon us, choosing instead to walk a path of self-knowledge and cultural reclamation. This is the only way forward if we are to foster mental liberation for our children and community, strength, resilience, and unity, ready to reclaim our destinies as a melanin-rich culture. Let us remain vigilant and committed to our mission of liberation, empowering our children to carry forth our legacy of greatness. For in honoring our shared history and embracing our identity, we carve out a future filled with hope, love, and unyielding strength. Our next topic in this special Majestic Mind Matters University Mandatory Mental Liberation Message series is titled, The Detriments of the Welfare System for Our Melanin-Rich People, A Path Toward Liberation. As members of a melanin-rich culture, we bear witness to the psychological and socioeconomic ramifications imposed by systemic injustices, particularly those embedded within contemporary welfare systems. The pervasive narratives presented in films by creators like Jordan Peele and Little Marvin illuminate our collective struggles, offering us insight into the psychological effects of social injustice that we, as a community, have long endured. Through these narratives, we are presented not just with entertainment, but with profound commentary on our shared experiences, enabling us to understand and reclaim our melanin-rich cultural heritage while fostering resilience and unity. The welfare system, much like the oppressive structures it arises to combat, has shown itself to be a double-edged sword. For many within our community, reliance on welfare can convey a sense of dependency rather than empowerment. This cycle of dependency is not merely an individual failing, it serves as a systematic oversight that further marginalizes our people. The policies entrenched within these systems often prioritize short-term solutions over long-lasting development, leaving us vulnerable to a cycle of poverty and disenfranchisement. We must recognize that the welfare system is designed through a lens of paternalism that often fails to address the unique historical and cultural contexts of our ancestors' struggles. Moreover, we must memorialize our ancestors, those unmentioned and unnamed, whose sacrifices often go unsung. The effects of historical trauma remain imprinted upon us. From the unarmed victims of clandestine organizations to the millions who have suffered under the weight of chattel enslavement and its contemporary equivalent, mass incarceration. These narratives are crucial in understanding the complex trauma that our people endure today. The oppressive structures that transformed our reality, shifting us from a civilization rich with history and culture to one characterized by economic marginalization and systemic violence, have created a psychological schism that we must address collectively. As we engage with the works of Peele, Little Marvin, and others, we recognize the insidious nature of Stockholm Syndrome, an emotional and psychological connection that can arise between captors and captives. Its existence within our community is both a testament to our resilience and a reflection of our trauma. We have historically been conditioned to find solace even in our oppression, making it essential to engage in a process of mental liberation for the sake of our children and future generations. This reclamation of identity is not merely beneficial, it is mandatory for our collective healing. Furthermore, we must confront the historical context of drapetomania, a term used to pathologize enslaved individuals who sought freedom from their captors. This terminology, rooted in a framework of racial supremacy, underscores the psychological manipulation employed by oppressive systems to maintain control over our minds and bodies. By understanding the historical trajectories that have shaped our present conditions, we can begin to recognize and reject the denigrating labels imposed upon us by those who seek to divide and conquer. Terms like Black people or people of color, devised by colonizers, serve as tools for social stratification and discrimination, further distancing us from our rich heritage and identity. In the contemporary landscape, we witness a covert form of racism that has evolved, embedded within our social fabric. Discrimination manifests not only through overt acts, but often through systemic inaction, which reinforces cycles of poverty and marginalization. The narratives shared through contemporary media serve as mirrors, reflecting the psychological effects of this social injustice. By examining these narratives, we find the strength to confront our shared traumas and, through collective understanding, pave the way for healing and liberation. In our efforts to unite globally, we recognize the importance of memorializing our ancestors and honoring their unrecognized sacrifices. We must acknowledge those whose lives were lost in silence, victims of a system that seeks to render us invisible. Our future depends on sharing their stories and reclaiming our cultural heritage, which is rich not only in resilience, but also in strength and unity. This responsibility lies with us as we endeavor to foster a sense of belonging and hope within our community. The psychological and socioeconomic effects of social injustice are deeply intertwined with our experience as melanin-rich individuals. Our rich culture and heritage must not be overshadowed by the shackles of contemporary systemic oppression. We hold the power to transform narratives of despair into stories of resilience, fostering greater understanding and unification in our collective struggle. By remaining vigilant, staying woke, we can ensure that we do not merely survive but thrive, reclaiming our rightful place as a proud civilization grounded in our history and cultural richness. We are more than the conditions we confront. We are a testament to resilience, a force to be reckoned with, and a community destined to reclaim our narratives and legacies. The conclusion topic in this special Majestic Mind Matters University Mandatory Mental Liberation Message series is titled, Embracing Our Indigenous Roots, Implications for Unity, Identity, and Liberation. In the face of ongoing discrimination and systemic oppression, we stand at a critical juncture to embrace our indigenous roots and cultural heritage. This collective acknowledgement is not merely an act of nostalgia, it is a radical reclamation of our identities rooted in rich histories, contributions, and legacies that continue to shape our lived experiences as melanin-rich people. Such an embrace offers a pathway to mental liberation, particularly for our precious children, who deserve a sense of pride in their heritage and a future unshackled from the lingering effects of colonialism and racism. The welfare system, designed in the aftermath of historical injustices, often exacerbates rather than alleviates the struggles faced by our melanin-rich communities. Though it aims to provide a safety net, we experience its detriments cyclically, leading to dependency rather than empowerment. This misguided system has stripped us of agency, creating an illusion of support while reinforcing structural inequities. The stipulations embedded in welfare policies can perpetuate poverty and disempowerment, pulling us into a system that doles out tokens instead of facilitating true autonomy. We must actively advocate for systemic reforms that prioritize empowerment, aligning with our broader goals of reclaiming our cultural heritage and sovereignty. Stay Woke has emerged as a clarion call within our communities, urging vigilance against societal injustices. Historically, we have been subjected to exploitation, and the political landscape often capitalizes on our struggles without delivering tangible results. We are no longer accepting empty symbolisms like hollow promises and token gestures in exchange for our valuable votes. Instead, we demand something of substance. For example, the movement for reparations emerges from this need for accountability and restitution, seeking acknowledgement for the injustices perpetuated against us. Such actions can serve as a foundation for genuine unity, allocation of resources, and respect for our cultural contributions. Trusting in the illusion of inclusion has led us to a state of complacency that must be dismantled if we are to achieve true liberation. The pervasive reality is that we do not write the rules that govern us. Rather, systemic oppression is maintained by a structure that continues to disenfranchise us. One need only look to the concept of meritorious manumission, a practice emerging from the history of slavery in which enslaved people could earn their freedom by demonstrating exemplary behavior. Today, this notion persists in various forms, where we are often forced to prove our worthiness for basic rights, privileges, and recognition within a society that has historically subjugated us. This paradigm must be challenged. Our worth is inherent and not contingent on societal approval. An important historical analysis can be drawn from the findings of the Kerner Commission, established in 1967 to examine the causes behind the civil unrest and riots that swept through America's urban centers. The commission concluded that the nation was moving toward two societies, one black, one white, separate and unequal. This poignant observation remains alarmingly relevant today, as we continue grappling with racial discrimination and inequitable access to opportunities. It reinforces our obligation toward fostering unity within our communities. We must ensure that our cultural heritage is integrated into our promotion of social justice, leading to a holistic understanding of health and wellness. Furthermore, holistic healthcare is essential for our melanin-rich populations. We must acknowledge how systemic racism has led to discrepancies in health outcomes, access to care, and overall wellness in our communities. By reclaiming our health practices and integrating our cultural wisdom into healthcare paradigms, we align ourselves with a legacy of resilience while nurturing our ties to our ancestry. We can create avenues for healing that honor our collective histories and experiences. The devastation wrought by the violent theft of our identities forces us to confront the ways we have been conditioned to suppress our cultural narratives. Our reclamation of identity is integral to dismantling the psychic scars of our past. Recognizing that we come from a civilization rich in history allows us to build resilience against the wave of challenges we face today, particularly for our children. In embracing our indigenous roots and cultural heritage, we collectively lay the groundwork for not just survival, but thriving in unity. Our journey toward reclaiming our identity necessitates a concerted effort. By advocating for systemic change, rejecting empty symbolisms, and investing in holistic wellness, we take definitive steps towards mental liberation and a brighter future for generations to come. Stay woke. I'm your royal narrator, Queen Magical Melanin. We trust that this very special message has expanded your understanding through the insights shared by our highly esteemed producer, Elder Baba Jelani Bomani Dembe, founder of Majestic Mind Matters University, in our Mandatory Mental Liberation Series special message. Remember this, it is essential to honor the ancestors. We have a unique connection to the ancestors. They endured many unwarranted struggles, preserved our melanin-rich culture, and passed down invaluable wisdom through many generations. By honoring the ancestors, we pay honorable tribute to our roots and draw great strength and much-needed inspiration from the unwavering resilience and royal legacy that has paved the way for our present and future generations. Ancestral reverence is a powerful way for us to continually uphold our own melanin-rich identity, heritage, and cultural legacy. Here is an ancient Alkebulan proverb to keep in mind. If you think you are too small to make a difference, you have not spent the night with a mosquito. Remember this as well, whenever you are in the presence of anyone, saying, "They don't see color," it actually means, "They don't see you." We acknowledge and honor the indigenous name of our glorious continent as Alkebulan. This name means Mother of Mankind in various Alkebulan languages such as Akuyu, Swahili, and Kemet, referring to ancient Egypt and rejecting the terms Africa or African. As royal members of our melanin-rich culture nation, we must strive for knowledge of self for greater personal awareness. Always treat yourself kindly and seek to live a totally awesome and gloriously fulfilling melanin-rich culture life. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. So, like, subscribe to stay updated, and share this very special melanin-rich culture link with everyone that you care about and that really cares about you and all of yours as well. And thank you for listening to this enchanting special message. Stay woke. Ashe.